What's good, King Ganda? It's your boy O'Shea Duke Jackson, back at it again with another episode here. I've been gone for quite a long time, a few months. I know y'all missed me, so we back. But I'm here with my boy, all the way, even like the UK national anthem, all the way from England. I'm gonna let him explain who he is. Go ahead, brother.
Hey, what's up, O'Shea? I'm very thankful for you to have me. I am Falcon Black, a Black British YouTuber. I've been here for a few years, talking about various things such as self-improvement, self-refinement. I'm a martial artist, so I'll try to infuse that with my channel, trying to help men develop and grow, whether that be physically, mentally, spiritually. Also try to speak on issues pertaining to the Black British audience, particularly men, to see how we can help in terms of development and, you know, our presence in the UK, basically.
All right, this has been my brother for a long time, man. We have adopted him into the African American community, and I've been adopted into the Black British community. That's my brother right there. He's a real stand-up guy. But one of the things that I've learned from you since I've been knowing you here on the YouTube, but you were one of my earlier subscribers, is we used to have a show called we used to have a live stream on Saturdays. Me, you, and some of the other Black British brothers, King Riches and Senator Truth, and
the Bruvcast. Remember
the Bruvcast? That's right.
Yeah, that's
right. I need to come to London and get that started again. But one of the reasons that I think about the UK, so influential. So many people coming from the UK. You know, Lennox Lewis. You know, Naomi Campbell. A lot of people have been very active in the Pan African fight. A lot of people have stopped through the UK. But what I noticed after talking to you is that the same problems that we are having in America, there are very similar issues affecting Black people in the United Kingdom.
Most definitely.
Why do you think that is?
Well, to be honest, I think there are just simply a lot of issues that are pretty global when it comes to Black people. I think history is fairly similar. I mean, for me, speaking as a someone of Nigerian descent, colonialism had a similar effect in terms of quote unquote holding us back in terms of economic growth. So I think we often share the same, inferiority complexes, and we have the same ailments in the society, especially in our relations, I guess, historically with European people, from my point of view. And so that's why it's easy for someone like me to be in a live stream, with someone like you, and I've rocked with you for a long time. And everything you speak about is we can align with. It's understandable. Even though I'm all the way over here in the UK, it's pretty much the same stuff happening. We're talking about, if we want to talk about baby mama issues, we want to talk about broken homes, the typical stuff. It's the same thing. So it's like, when I think about why we're so similar, it's almost like, it's something that we've often asked ourselves, because geographically we're thousands of miles apart.
Right.
But I think it just comes down to the common history, man. Colonialism, slavery, just economic oppression, really. So I think we share similar mentalities from that point of view. So it's easy to relate with ADOS, in my opinion, from my point of view.
One of the things I know that, historically, my main channel, as you know, is what will be considered a part of what is known as the Black manosphere. Brothers like yourself are known in that community. A lot of brothers from the UK are known in that community. But I've been asking you to come on for a long time, and you finally decided, because I can't beat you up because you're like a 15th degree black belt in Taekwondo. So I gotta be nice when I ask you stuff. I ain't trying to get all hemmed up, But you said you want to talk about something that was so unique. Why Black British men are failing. I said, wow. I said that's a also awesome concept. Because even I'm interested to understand that. Why are we talking about this particular concept today?
So, from my point of view and from my angle on my channel, when we talk about, I call it self-refinement, general self-improvement. the mentality to go through each day with the aim of being better. As cheesy as that makes sound, I think that a lot of my brethren here in the UK don't really follow that mindset. You know, there's a lot of my so-called brothers don't really have that progressive mindset in terms of being better, in terms of doing better. So what I tend to see here is that, for example, economically we are typically at the bottom. Home ownership typically at the bottom. Just basic stuff in terms of owning businesses, we're typically at the bottom. And often we compare ourselves with other ethnic minorities in the UK, so for example, Asians, because when we speak about immigration into the UK, we roughly came at the same time. So we being Caribbeans, Africans, and maybe Indians or Bangladeshis, and this was typically at the end of the Second World War, when the UK population-wise, they needed a boom in the economy, so they brought in all their colonies to kind of give a resurgence to the population. So it's like, if we all came in at the same time, why is there so much disparity? Why is there such a difference? We were all pretty much equally discriminated against back then, so it's something that needs to be highlighted. It's something that we need to speak about. We need to slowly, bit by bit, pinpoint what the issues are. And from my point of view, I have a very singular mentality in the sense that I believe it starts with you. Any sort of improvement or growth or success begins with how you think, your mentality, your physicality, and how you see the world. So I think it's a very vital, and it's to be honest, something of a passion of mine to speak on. I need to. I've lived in the UK all of my life, and it comes a point in time when you can't accept that this is how it is. You can't accept that we are the stereotype. We have a high population in prisons, for example. We have a lot of broken families, a lot of broken homes, poor development. It comes a time where we need to speak about this. We need to understand why this is. Let
me ask you this: I was supposed to come to London. We missed each other, and I'll be back once y'all get rid of that second new strain of coronavirus, because I can't be catching. I'm old now, but
right.
But when I was there in London, I was staying in North London. Shout out to Edmonton. I was out there. I noticed, I couldn't find a white person really in Edmonton at all. I saw so many people who were Turkish, right? I saw a lot of Turkish, a lot of Somalis, people like that, a lot of the same group you're talking about. But what I noticed is that what's the difference between, let's say, the African-American community and the Black British community is that with the African-American community, generally we all operate as like one tribe because we are technically the same people. So if I were to go to, let's say, a Baptist church in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, I've never been there, but I know the same songs. We would have the same type of service, the same order service. We would have the same sort of restaurant or food, something like that. Without even being there, we know the culture. Where I think that when you look at the Caribbean communities and the African communities in the UK, it's highly differentiated. You have Ghanaians, you have Nigerians, you have people from Ivory Coast, you have people from Ethiopia, you have people from all different places, Zimbabwe, Kenya, and then you have the Caribbeans, the Jamaicans, the Trinidadians, but they're all put together into the one Black community. So how does that, and so you have all these different ethnicities and within that, and then the Black British identity, and some people having a difference of trying to understand that. Do you think that also contributes to the problems that Black men are having?
100%, definitely. And when you explain the differences like that, you can kind of pinpoint and understand that there might be a tribal mentality too. And I think elements of that type of mentality is also present within the ADOS community. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but there's and this is one of this is a problem that is very it's universal amongst Black people, in my opinion. Whether in Africa, whether here in Europe, perhaps whether over there in the Americas. There's a sense of tribalism, which is why we can pretty much understand and relate with each other's problems in the community and society. But specifically when it comes to London or the UK, definitely that diversity is one of the reasons why, firstly, we don't have the unity. We don't have, I guess, a like mind, because most of us, like you said, Ghana, Nigeria, all former British colonies, we already come from different regions with different cultures. But then even within that country, there's a split of cultures too. So
yes.
A Nigerian from the Southwest, for example, would never relate really with a Nigerian from the North, being
right.
Muslim first Christian, speaking different languages, different culture, right. different history. So it's like, that's another barrier, that's another element in which why, Black British people might have difficulties in the sense of coming up in the society, or in the sense of having a stronger, cohesive identity within Britain. So although we're called Black British,
mm-hmm.
to be honest, most people will refer to themselves as where their parents come from. Most
right.
people like me who were born here and lived there for over 30 years of your life will still mm-hmm. consider yourself to be Nigerian.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people say this, even if they've never even gone back to their home countries, or have never stayed there for a significant amount of time, mm-hmm. but they would still preferably label themselves as Nigerian or Ghanaian, even though they're born and bred here, as opposed to being Black British. So mm-hmm. definitely that's a big barrier as to why it's probably hard to get some sort of economic traction in terms mm-hmm. of overall progress within the society, within the community.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the questions I've raised in the past, especially in relation to your broadcast that we were on one time, was mm-hmm. a kind of a lot of people take offense to the idea of having a more deeper, stronger Black British identity.
Right.
A lot of people take offense to that. A lot of people might call someone who thinks like that a quote unquote raccoon, and okay. Accuse them of not being ashamed of where they come from or their origins, and not wanting to big it up. But it's like, people in our position, we have to ask ourselves these questions. Is it that we're going to live here, leave no roots, leave no trace of us being here, leave no real cultural stamp on the society? Or are we going to just go back to our parents' country, or are we just going to go somewhere else? Do you know mm-hmm. what I mean? And I think that's a very significant question, because once you know what the goal is, in terms of your future, in terms of your plans, mm-hmm. then I think you will understand better what it is you need to do while we are alive. Mm-hmm. what ventures we need to pursue. How do we solidify our place in the society? I find that a lot of Black British people operate in a very segregated way.
Mm-hmm.
For example, someone like my mother, although she's been here for many years, she's been here longer. She's been in Britain longer than she's been in Nigeria, country
right.
of birth. But yet, she's more comfortable in being in her own kind of close-knit group, where they speak a Nigerian language, and the English is not that great. So it's like there's a lot of groups here that operate in that segregated way, and I think that also draws other issues in terms of cohesion, in terms of putting a stamp in the society.
Mm-hmm. Let me talk to you about this, because why Black men are failing in America. What I've noticed is that a lot of times African American men, there's a lot of talent. There are guys who have a lot of money, but I always notice that Black women are more of a united group. I've noticed that a lot of times that Black men, it's getting a little bit better now in the African American community, but a lot of us, we will not try to build up infrastructures that will help our Black men come up and do things. We would sometimes be jealous, or try to keep brothers back, keep brothers out of the business for fear of things like that. So you don't get a lot of black men that really respect each other or try to help each other to help them get into the business, to look at the brother as a possible contact. But and I know there are brothers in black brothers in the UK that have restaurants that have good business and stuff like that. And there's really good schools there. I know, I'm pretty sure that that blacks have access to, the education system in college, right? Just like anybody else.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, of course,
Okay.
definitely.
So the opportunities are there, like in the NHS and everything else. With the black men in America, I see a lot of, like backbiting and, brothers not really respecting each other and trying to build relationships to do business, to create their own economies. What about the because the guys in the UK, they can have a little bit of advantage too, because a lot of those guys are in the UK, but then a lot of those guys have connections back in Nigeria or in Ghana, wherever they're from. So it seems like they would have even more of a competitive advantage because they can do business in multiple different places, right? What's stopping the black men in the UK from doing things that, because you said they don't have a lot of business, but why is that?
I would say similar to what you just explained with the, I guess, stinginess within ADOS, that same mentality is present here as well. And these are one of the things we need to pinpoint as to why, because there's a lot of, I'm probably being a bit too harsh. Of course, just like you said, there's a lot of Nigerian businesses working together, creating business, but there's also that kind of stingy element where British black men might feel like they're in competition with other British black men. And again, when we have the element of many different groups, we have a Jamaican, we have a Trinidadian, we have a Nigerian, that sense of tribalism amongst men is boosting. Where you do you know what I mean? So it's like we can operate relatively positively as a group, but then again, that pool of men is small in terms of who you might relate with best. Even when I go back to school, when I think back in school, there was this type of divide between Caribbeans and Africans as kids. I remember, for example, like I have a real Nigerian name, and whenever my name is called out, like it would definitely be a Caribbean kid, a black kid, who will laugh and cuss my name. Obviously, most of them have like an English name due to the history. So even from that developmental stage, there is already that rivalry almost being built up, amongst African and Caribbeans, for example. In this day and age, now it's getting better. I obviously don't know how it is in schools as it was when I was back in many years ago. But, as a millennial, that is one of the things, or that is one of the mentalities that brings about that, again, sense of tribalism. The apparent inability or difficulty in black men working together. But I also think that, there's still a kind of mental issue. There is still the boosting of negative stereotypes within the media, for example. So even, if we had that kind of network potential among the demographic amongst black men in Britain, there is still the spirit of wanting to do something that is easier, like entertainment. A lot of people coming up just want to go into music, very artistic kind of trades. Many of us weren't really business minded, weren't really group minded as well. We're very independent, moving in terms of our thought. A lot of us, probably like me even, just come out of the community, like Peckham, Brixton, communities where there's a lot of black British, where we originally were based, and just
South
move out
London.
the area. Yeah,
okay.
South London.
Oh yeah, that's true.
So a lot of my friends are unfortunately kind of like lone wolves, doing pretty good, but by themselves, and kind of isolated away from the community. So there's that element as well, where it's like, like a lot of people say in these streets, the communita, that element is present here as well, where we kind of where the guys who've done pretty well or done okay, you know, have overridden the issues of perhaps criminality, you know, they, with that negative history, they want to move away from that as well. So there's an element of that too. So overall, that's what creates the lack of ease in terms of, you know, building together. You know, from my point of view, from my perspective.
That's a great point. I'm gonna kind of get back into that, because South London is one of the most notorious. I think that a lot of people know about South London, even in the States. You know, everybody knows about Peckham and, you know, or know about South London. And I think you bring up a great point. I know that they're now, you know, gentrifying out there in that particular place is getting very expensive. Absolutely. But typically, this is where the economy, a lot of times, I know like North London is popular, Edmonton area, a lot of blacks, but South London is, you know, more popular. I know like a lot of Ugandans live there too. So in South London is where a lot of the historic black money is at, because a lot of blacks are there, and that's the best place to put the stores and the parties and the business stuff like that. But also a lot of crime happened in South London. So when a lot of people came out from South London, they was like, yo, I need to get the hell out of here. And that probably meant away from black people, and they're probably somewhere, you know.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know, so for example, a lot of so-called well-to-do Nigerians, you know, they've moved to areas like North London, where there is a very big Jewish community, you know, relatively more quote-unquote peaceful than South London. So a lot of them in isolated pockets have moved out there. You know, a lot maybe in places like Greenwich, further South London, or even beyond, like Croydon, Fulton Heath. But again, it's moving away from the core areas. But like you said, even as we move away from those core Black British areas, the gentrification is happening as well. So what you find is now a lot of hipsters taken in Peckham. There's a lot of like pop-up kind of bar cinema type places where, you know, in a town with a big Black British population, in this bar, you'll see primarily white British people or foreigners, like Scandinavians, for example. And that's, you know, taking the prices up. A lot of the traditional black hair shops in Peckham, for example, now owned by other groups of people.
Wow. So like, same thing going on in the States. It's crazy.
Yeah. And like 20 years ago, all of that, the whole high street was owned by Nigerians. Everyone knew them, you know, Ghanaians, all their shops. Now, most of those shops are owned by Asian people. And so we have a very...
but still selling the blacks.
Awkward, still selling blacks. You know, and that's a very awkward situation where you, as a black person, you're going to Asians to get your black products. And in some cases, you're being, you know, by the security there, you're being treated like potential criminals. You've been basically ousted out of your traditional areas, you know. So, the gentrification is an issue as well. And that is another element that just, I guess, paints a grim future for what we might call Black British and our longevity here as a community, as a cohesive community.
You brought up another interesting point, and you know, I've been over here battling it out in the medical school, you know, off and on for going on. This will be about, you know, supposed to be going, I won't say how many years, but I took almost 20 months off of school, but I'm finishing up here in medicine. And you talked about, and one thing I like about the Nigerians in America, the Nigerians in America are the number one performing group. I don't know if you know this.
I've heard,
but they're the best performing by far. I would think. I mean, the second is the Asians, but as far as the Nigerians are the most educated in, I would say, the things that you need in the economy, the engineering, the medicine, the health sector. They run a lot of the STEM things, right? You know, biochemistry, actuarial science. And this is how the Nigerian Americans, this is what they come to the table with in the economy. And they're doing very well. They do better than the whites. They do better than the you know, if you want to say the Jewish community, they kick everybody's butt. I was shocked to hear you say that, though. But in the UK, they're having a sort of an African American problem that the guys are not looking to get into the things that the economy needs, the engineering, the medicine, because the NHS is like probably one of the biggest corporations in the world. You know what I mean? The health sector. They're not looking to get into it. You're seeing a lot of guys in there, like, the big Narcies and the Westerns. You see a lot of guys are trying to get into the Afro beats is, real big now in the UK. So you're seeing guys, and the black men are not looking to get into the business or competitive advantage type sorts of things. They're looking to do more entertainment stuff. Is that what you're saying?
To be fair, I would say probably it's mixed. I mean, my family members, my cousins, for example, a lot of them are in financial industries, big bank companies. But there is almost like a 50-50 element where there is still a big influence to get into, like you said, Afro beats, to produce music, to make beats and to, kind of evade the STEM programs, whereas like most West African parents are old school, that will be told to, be an architect, to be a doctor, go into medicine, etc., etc. But yeah, I think in some cases the general culture and what we deem as Black culture has influenced a lot of people I know, at least a lot of men I know here, to it's kind of influenced to do things that might necessarily be as important as STEM programs, for example, so kind of dumbing themselves down to follow the crowd or to follow the stereotype and be a musician. And this is not to down musicians, of course there is a need for musicians, but it's like, in a way, our Black British demographic is probably like entertainment is up here, whereas the other essential kind of industries that we need is somewhere down here. There's an imbalance, and it paints a picture of, again, like I said, not thinking or feeling like you have a strong foundation in this nation, and like even my family members, they are exactly what I'm saying. Although they are doing quite good here, have homes here, they're very willing to bounce back to Nigeria, for example, and kind of stay there for a long amount of time. So it's like this, I'm not Black British, kind of evasive stance. I guess that's really the difference between someone like me, a so-called British Nigerian, versus ADOS, whereas we have that opportunity to go back to another country and kind of decide where you want to settle, whereas of course ADOS don't have the opportunity, so obviously there is an advantage, but in a weird way we still have the same stereotypical issues.
And the issues of, you talked about it just now, like if a person's really smart, like there's a certain pressure for them to be dumbed down and to be stupid.
Exactly
It's just exactly how it is in Black America. But interestingly, what I found out is that a lot of times when brothers from Britain that are from like Nigeria, I don't know if you, I know that you're going to take a trip, but I've heard Brother Frank Lean, he's a very popular YouTuber
I know him.
Good brother, very popular, very, very, very good information on this channel. Brothers like him will go back to Nigeria, and if they hear the British accent, even though he's Nigerian, I've heard people say that people won't consider them to be Nigerian.
So someone like me finds ourselves in a crazy dynamic where it's now like we're in between. We're not exactly British, we're not exactly Nigerian, we're something in between, kind of almost like a refugee, because you don't feel 100% comfortable in either land. And we're in this kind of fragile situation where we have no real root or foundation in either place, and I guess that really speaks of the fragility of being an ethnic minority, especially the Black British population in the UK is like under 4%, so very low, kind of whimsical demographic that is kind of neither here nor there, And I think that paints the bigger issue of development, knowing where you stand, or even just feeling comfortable in your country of birth. And I think that also impacts mental health, self-esteem. When you're residing in a country from a boy to a man, and you still don't feel 100% comfortable in that environment. Or you might, a lot of Black people here are bunched up into the cities, like London, Birmingham, Manchester. But often when we go into the country, we move out the cities, we are met with a sense of, I won't say racism, but it's just like this strange...
Like, why are you here?
Yeah, exactly. You're seen as a stranger. You're not familiar. And that often, in my experience, and in many other of the people I speak to, in their experience, that alienation makes them feel like they don't belong anywhere. So when we already
makes
find
them want to go back.
Yeah, exactly. But then some of us haven't even gone back. And like you said, some of us, if we go back, we are seen as something foreign. So it's like some of us are stuck in that position where they can't go back anywhere, and they have to deal with this alienation within their own country. So it's it's a position of seclusion, and I think that also affects mentality, and that's a big one of the main motivating forces on my channel when I talk about self-refinement, self-improvement. Must also deal with the mental, the psyche side of it, in terms of feeling secure, in terms of just having that self-esteem that will allow you to maybe do a project, maybe do a subject within STEM, having that confidence to make your mark, put your stamp down in this country, as opposed to being, just feeling introverted in a sense that you don't feel comfortable in your country. You don't feel adventurous. You don't feel like competing. You don't feel like putting yourself out there, because when you go out there, not a lot of people can relate with you. And the people who can relate with you are often secluded in their own little pockets, kind of operating on their own,
instead of trying to work together as one community.
Exactly. And then we go back to the whole point that the Black community in Britain are divided anyway into different nations. It's often hard to, we can't just walk up to each other and dap. We would like that to be a reality. That's probably more easy to do within America, perhaps, because you can do that if you wanted to. But here it's still like, damn, if we even do that, we might not even speak the same language properly. We might have a different accent. We might, it's still different. So it's like just many issues roll up into one. And that's partially something that I want to deal with on my channel. But again, my focus is more to deal with the single element, the person. So I ask questions in how we can self-improve as Black British people. And again, that controversial topic of, do we need to lay more roots and foundations in this country, and put our stamp on this nation, or what? I'm just basically asking the questions to the Black British audience to know where they want to, where they see themselves, basically, where they want to go from here.
Okay. No, it's an awesome interview, man. And I've had Afropolitan on here before. She's awesome. But you really brought out some things that had not been previously all the way discussed. But there is very similarities in the same answers that she gave that you've given, and it helps us. I didn't know this until I started to have conversations with the Black British community. Go ahead and tell people what the name of your channel, brother. You've kind of explained what it's about, and just tell the people why they should subscribe to you.
Yeah, so my channel is Falcon Black. Like I said, I've been here on YouTube for about 2 years now. I originally started from an angle of trying to help men deal with personal issues, but I've recently transitioned into more of a holistic and self-improvement type of channel. So I often speak about things relating to mental improvement, physical improvement, spiritual improvement, health and fitness. I speak about how martial arts has positively affected me and how it can positively affect you as well. So, and I also want to deal with more Black British issues, asking sort of questions that I posed in this video today. And, I really want to welcome all people to come to my channel and to just really understand how, understand someone who's in my shoes and from my point of view as a Black British person, but not just that, also as a martial artist, as a sports person, as someone who's just has the mentality of growth, pretty much, So that's what my channel is really about.
All right, brother. Well, guys, thank you so much. King Ganda is back with me on doing the interviews again. Thank you so much. Make sure you comment, subscribe, hit the bell. And as you know, keep it real. King Ganda forever. We out.